Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast, episode number 40. I'm super excited that it's episode number 40 already, and I'm really pumped to bring you today's episode. We're going to be talking about the difference between I am and I feel. It's a powerful episode today, guys, so jump in. We are about to get into the meat of it. I spent years building my interior design business, trying to do all the things: the marketing, the networking, the free content, spending thousands of dollars on training and education, only to see minimal growth. After years of frustration, I finally started to ask, what am I missing? I had the systems in place for powerful growth. I had amazing clients. I had determination, drive, and commitment to spare. And yet, I wasn't seeing the success I desired. What if business is not about the doing? What if building a powerful business requires both powerful systems and something else, something deeper? I'm Amy Van Meel, and I'm on a journey to discover that something else. If you are ready to build a powerful business and do it knowing that your success is inevitable, join me as I share both the powerful systems I know work and my lessons and revelations as I discover that something deeper. Welcome, Changemaker, to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. Well, hey there, Changemakers. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm stoked that you're here. I am just so filled with gratitude that you are joining me. If this is your first time listening, then welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are an old hat and you have been here for all of the previous 39 episodes, my hat is off to you, my friend. I'm really excited that you're here. So last week, I touched on the fact that I was reading the 4-Hour Workweek and condensing tasks, and I did a 20-minute episode, and I loved it. And so today is going to be a shorty and a goodie as well. So let's get right into it. So I was thinking this weekend about when we feel things. I know this is going to sound, this is not my best intro, so let's roll with it. Here's what I was thinking. Often when we are feeling sad or we're feeling down or hungry or whatever else, we use the words I am. I am sad. I am disappointed. I am down. I am depressed. I am whatever. And what I have been practicing for a while is to actually, when I talk about my feelings, to use the words I feel. Because essentially what the words that I feel are doing is describing how I'm actually feeling versus a state of being. And so today that's what I want to talk about. When to use I am, when to use I feel, and to understand the difference between the two. Now, let me preface this before I get into it any further and just give you a little disclaimer. I'm not an expert by any means. I am not a therapist. I'm not in any way, shape, or form like an expert on this, other than I have been practicing with it and thinking on it and listening to the experts. So I'm going to share with you today my takeaways because, first of all, I think that at all levels of our journey, we have something, some knowledge, some insight that we can share and teach to others, no matter how far along we are on the path. Even if we're brand spanking new, there might be someone who's never heard anything about what you're learning or what you're doing or what you're using. And so they would benefit from your perspective. I do believe that oftentimes we get tied up in our stories about how, we don't know enough or we don't have enough experience. And so I'm just prefacing this episode with that, letting you know that I'm not an expert, but I have been practicing this. And so you're going to get the benefit of my learning and my experience at the stage that I'm at. And it's very possible in a year or 2 years or what have you, that I'll circle back around to this and maybe something will have changed, maybe not. Or maybe I'll be able to go even deeper, a level deeper than I'm going in today. Who knows? So here's what I want to start with. Let's talk about the words I am. If you're fairly new to any of the call it, new way of thinking, the more empowered way of thinking, then you may not have heard anyone say the phrase that the words that follow I, or let me rephrase, I am are the most powerful words in the universe. And it sounds weird at first. I know, because I remember the first time I heard it, I'm like, okay, that sounds like a lovely thing. You could put like a little inspirational pickup in your office or something. But if you really let it sit and you really think about it, when you think about what I am is a declaration. And the reason that I am are the most powerful words in the universe, they are used biblically to describe God. They are used in, I'm sure, many other cultures and religions to describe source or the universe. I am is the beginning of all things. And so anything that you put after I am is loaded with intense energy. So if you are describing your way of feeling by saying, I am sad, I am disappointed, you are actually declaring a state of being. And I'm keeping an eye on my timer, so I want to make sure I don't get like too lost in the weeds today. But if we think about it this way, when you say, I am disappointed, and you make that declaration, what you're doing is you're putting out into the energy that is all around you that this is your state of being, and therefore more will show up. So if you're familiar at all with the idea of, that we create our own reality, that we are the creators of our reality, etc., then you'll understand what I mean by saying that when you make that declaration, you're creating more of it. Essentially, what you're doing is you're calling out and saying, okay, I want more of this, please, universe. So if you could just make sure I keep getting disappointed, that would be awesome. That's what you're doing when you say something that's prefixed with I am. However, if you change it to I feel, it becomes I think it puts the power back in your hands in a different way. So I don't believe at all that we should ignore our negative or down feelings. And I don't even necessarily like calling them negative feelings, but it's the easiest way to explain it. So we'll just go with negative for now. When we feel crappy, when we feel hungry or sore or disappointed or sad or whatever, we have been taught to just say, well, how are you? Well, I am this way. But again, when we talk about it as I am this way, we're setting a declaration. What we really want to know is, how are you feeling? So when you're discussing the not the state of your being, but the emotions of your being, then let's use words that are emotional words. I feel. Those are words that convey emotion. If you've ever learned to do some conflict resolution or some open dialogue with a loved one or even at work, you may have learned that it's very important not to say, you make me feel this way, but instead to say, I feel this when. The reason that you're taught this in conflict dialogue is to stop putting the other person on the defensive, right? Rather than, you make me feel so crappy all the time, you can say, I feel really crappy when this happens. And so what it does in conflict resolution is that it allows the other person to remain open to what you're saying and to actually hear what you're saying versus go immediately on the defensive, right? Because then you get nowhere when you're putting the other person on the defensive. So what I want to encourage you, and what I'm talking about today, when you're talking about how you feel about things, by all means, be honest. I highly encourage honesty in the way that we are feeling. I am so done with this bullshit of saying, asking someone how they are, and if they say anything less than I'm great or I'm doing really well, that we get all over their case. If they say, I'm actually not doing that great today, that we get all over them like, what do you mean you're not doing that great today? Why aren't you doing that great today? You should be amazing. Look at all the amazing blessings you have in your life. And, you've got a full fridge full of food, and you've got a beautiful house that you live in. You have an amazing partner. Like, let's stop doing that. If someone has the courage to say to you, I feel something less than good. I feel kind of down today. I feel tired today. I feel whatever. Just allow that. You don't need to fix it. We don't need to go in there and say, okay, well, let's focus on all the good things. And we also don't need to go in and try to placate them. And I'm talking to me on this one because this is my go-to. When someone says, I feel really down or I feel really tired, my tendency is to dig into that. Why? Because here's why. Because I want to help them. I'm a perpetual fixer. It's something that I'm working on. But I want to always increase or improve the status around me. And so when someone says to me, Amy, I'm feeling really bummed today. I'm really feeling really down today. I am learning to ask why and allow them to express that emotion without investing myself into it and without feeling the need that I have to fix it. And a perfect example of this is I have many friends of mine who have kids, and their kids are getting older, and so they're starting to frustrate the hell out of their parents. And I have made the decision not to have children. My guy, same thing. Both of us, before we ever met each other, made the decision that we didn't want to have children. Not because we don't like them, we just don't want them. And so I've had friends say to me, why would anybody want to have kids? And my kids are driving me crazy and da 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 da. And I always will hold space for them to talk, and I will allow them to feel their full range of emotions. But because I don't have kids, and especially if the question comes up, why would anybody want to have kids? I have no answers for them. And I used to try to find answers or feel really inadequate because I didn't have anything. So now I'm learning to just allow them to have that space to feel their feelings and release that energy off of them. And then we can carry on and do whatever it is that we're doing. So when it comes to, and this is true, I'm not saying that I know we like to think about, we want to focus on the positive and let go of the negative. If you are feeling really joyful, if you're feeling really glad, or you're feeling, just overwhelmed in gratitude, like it's just such an amazing day, by all means, say, I am joyful, I am happy, I am glad. Those are states of being that we want to increase. So it's not to say that all emotions need to be relegated to the I feel realm. What it is to say is to be very aware of the words that you speak. So a phrase that my guy used to use so often, like I wanted to wring his ears with a bat, was "it can't hurt." And I hated the phrase. I hated the idea and the energy behind the phrase. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, could you please not say that anymore? I understand what it is that you're trying to say. I understand that it's a habit, that it's just something that you don't even realize what you're saying. But it's loaded with negativity, and it basically puts an entire amount of negative energy on whatever it is that we're doing. So if I suggest something like, hey, do you think that we should go get groceries on Saturday, which is a totally neutral statement, and he says, well, it can't hurt, then my immediate thought is, well, it could hurt if we don't go. It could hurt if we got in a car accident. It could hurt if I hit you with a bat right now, because I'm tired of hearing that sentence out of your mouth. And so it took a while, and it took a few gentle reminders on my part. And I understand that, it takes time for us to release those things. People, I used to give him the gears because if he was busy at work and we'd be on the phone for whatever reason, as he'd hang up, he'd be like, okay, take care, and hang up. And it came up in a family gathering one time. I said, who says take care to their loved one? I mean, really, it's not like I'm your mom or your cousin. I'm your girlfriend, for crying out loud. Take care my ass. Anyway, so he's also let go of that one. And not to say I'm here fixing him. That's not at all it. But it's been interesting. Having a relationship is such a fun learning experience. So let me cycle back, because I'm sort of going down the rabbit hole. This is what happens when I have no notes. I'm even pre-coffee, which you may be surprised considering how fast I'm talking. But I had to get this episode out to you. So what I'm wanting to bring across is the importance of I am, and understanding the weight and the energy that flows with those words. When you say I am and you follow anything behind it, you're making a declaration. It is not there's no room for question. There is no room for error. It simply is a statement of this is how it is. And when you make that statement of this is how it is, you might be thinking it's something totally innocuous, like I am hot or I am cold, right? That might seem like, well, Amy, that's just how I feel right now. Right, but it's how you feel right now. If you said, I am hot, and thought about it in the sense of it's a declaration of how things are, then that would be indicative of the fact that you are hot all the time, or that you want to be hot all the time because that's what you're calling more of. Or when you're cold, I am cold, versus I feel cold. Because that really is what it is that you're describing. You're describing how your body physically feels. It's not a state of being, it is how it feels. Because, to some people, the temperature that you are right now is actually a very comfortable temperature. So it's not an absolute, it's simply a feeling of how your body feels. So anyway, I think I might even tie it up right here. We're clocking in around 16 minutes, but that's what I want to talk about today, is just using I am and I feel in the appropriate scenarios. So I am is a declaration, which is why you'll notice if you have done any learning or listened to anybody talking about affirmations and, creating manifestations, you always say them in the present and you always say them in the positive. And I bet you've always noticed that they always start with I am. I am successful. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am a powerful leader. I am an amazing scuba diver. Whatever it is, they always start with the I am, because that I am is a declaration. When you are feeling the feelings, whatever those feelings are, I would encourage you to use I feel to describe your current situations. Rather than say I am sad, just say I feel sad right now. Because it also allows, the beauty of saying I feel is right now, wherever you're sitting, if you're out in public, maybe say it quietly, but wherever you're sitting, just say these two sentences. I am sad. I feel sad. And I want you to feel how that feels in your body. When I say I am sad, it feels permanent. It feels like I'm sticking something onto my body saying, I'm going to bring more of this in. Whereas when I say I feel sad, it feels like a flow. I can feel that emotion moving. I'm not stopping it. I'm not saying, hold up, I want more of this. What I'm saying is I recognize you and I honor you and I appreciate you showing up and allowing me to see you. And I'm acknowledging you by saying that I feel you moving through me. Does that make sense? I'm trusting that you're nodding, and I'm trusting that these last 18 minutes hasn't been totally lost on you and you're not going, oh my gosh, Amy, you need to have a coffee and make some notes before you do these. So that's all I have for you today, to just think about the I am and the I feel. And I wish you an amazing day. I trust that this message today has landed exactly where it needs to, that it's going to help you and go do some powerful good in the world. I wish you a phenomenal day. I'm super looking forward to catching you next week on the podcast. And before I go, I always want to just encourage you to help me get the word out about the podcast. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or take a screenshot of you listening and add it to the Instagrams on your stories, and be sure to tag me at I Dare to Begin. Or even better, you can sign up for the podcast emails, and you'll get the podcast download right to your inbox, plus some content that I actually only share in the email because I write the emails very specifically for my readers. So you can sign up for the podcast, subscribe, by going to daretobegin.net/blog. I know it sounds funny, but that's the URL for the podcast. All right, guys, bye for now. I'm so looking forward to seeing you again next week. Are you tired of figuring it out all on your own? Of sitting in overwhelm, knowing that you're not moving forward, but having no idea where or how to start? Are you ready to learn effective profit-supporting strategies for your business so that you can finally earn the money you desire and step into the freedom that you're working so hard to create? If so, I invite you to join me inside the Launchpad. You'll get instant access to free training designed to meet you where you are right now and propel you forward toward the dream that you hold in your mind. It's time to make a powerful move toward your future. Time to step up and serve the people who desperately need your help. Let's not keep them waiting any longer. Today is the day. Join the Launchpad now. Just go to daretobegin.net/the Launchpad and sign up. Your success is inevitable. Now, let's launch it.